Hi and welcome. This is Phyllis Edwards, Dr. E, welcoming you to episode 15 of The Widow Speaks. This podcast has been, I think, going pretty well. We are reaching widows and other folks that have people in their family or their friends, and I'm getting messages that people are telling people about this podcast, so I hope you do the same. They're telling me, gosh, I have two friends and I just shared it with them, and they called me up and told me that it touched their heart. So that's what we're trying to do. We want to give expert advice, we want to give inspiration, and we want to give a good and positive word to you as you're going through what you're going through. We are broadcasting from Flagler Voice. It's right here in Flagler County, Florida. But we do reach an audience that's all across the United States and Canada. Very soon, in the next week, I'm going to give you an email that you can contact. I would like you to email me with your questions, with your comments, with if you would like to hear from another speaker, if you have an idea for an expert. And once we give you time to kind of write to us, and I'll go through them all, then we'll try to put that together and make sure that we are responsive to what you want, because that's the most important thing. We're doing this for you. You are the main people, and that's what the whole thing is about. So I will be making sure that you have that. And I am very excited today that, as I told you when I introduced myself, I'm an educator, so I have a doctorate in educational leadership. And so what? It really doesn't matter, because what we're talking about is what we're going through in terms of this loss. And in my case, it was my husband of 50 years. But as I said, everybody's story is different. And the only thing that really matters is what the person that's going through it has to say, and what they have learned from their journey, and what they are trying to do in order to make their life work. And it's really not easy, so we try to get as many people on as we can with different stories, and I think that's the only way to go. I am going to introduce Melody to you. She has a beautiful name, Carrillo. Carilli.
Yes.
Melody Carilli. She's a beautiful young widow. She's here to share her story with you. And remember that all our stories are different. You will see, though, as she tells her story, I know you're going to hear and feel that there are some similarities to you and to what you're going through. And she also is going to talk to us about where she is now, so many years later. And I just am so grateful that she has been willing to come on. I will say that a lot of the people that I do approach are kind of afraid. They don't want to come on. They don't want to talk, and they just stay locked up. And I just really feel like this is a time when we're going to have to do our very best to reinvent ourselves and get out there and try to meet people. So thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate it. And I'd like you to tell us about you.
About me.
So where did you come from, and how did you get to this area? And
Well, I grew up in the Boston area in a town called Quincy, just south of Boston.
Okay.
I lived there until about 1983, and I got offered a job in the big city in New York.
Oh boy.
And so I moved to New York, and I lived in the New York, New Jersey area for about 4 years.
Okay.
During that time, I was working for an insurance company, and I met my husband, who I worked in the home office, and he worked in a branch office in Pittsburgh. We dated a few years. He was promoted to go to Atlanta, and he wanted me to go with him. So he came to New York with the ring and said, let's go. So we lived in Atlanta a total of 34 years. And we bought a home down here in Ormond Beach, Ormond by the Sea, in 2011, and it was going to be our retirement home.
Right.
And he moved down in 2019 ahead of time because he found a great place. We had a family business, a golf business. I was still in education in Georgia, not ready to retire, so I had a few more years in Georgia. Of course, COVID hit.
Oh gosh.
And during COVID, I moved down. I didn't move permanently. I was still living in Georgia, but I
Right.
spent COVID time during a good year or two with John, was his name,
Right.
and helped him with the golf business until then. In September of 2021, September 3rd, we sold our Georgia home, and I moved down here permanently to be with John in our home in Ormond Beach.
Tell us about John. What was John like?
John was your stereotypical Italian man. He was the head of the family. He was loud. He filled the room when he came in. But he was, and I'm sure you probably felt this way about your husband too, he was my rock. I mean, he was my protector.
Absolutely.
The good thing about John, and because I worked with him in the golf business, all through our marriage, he taught me how to do everything. So unlike a lot of women that end up being widows,
Right.
I can paint a wall, I can drywall, I can do some plumbing work, I can do whatever because he taught me these things. So when we moved to the house on September 3rd, we were looking forward to a wonderful retirement
Your
at
dream
the
life,
beach.
right?
Yes. September 29th, that same month, he was diagnosed with COVID. October 19th, he was gone.
Oh my gosh.
Right. So, and
gosh.
for me, I had a lot of questions for God.
Yes.
You know, why did you take my husband away of 34 years?
Oh my gosh.
Why did you have me move 500 miles away from my kids?
Exactly.
I left all my friends and everything I knew. And I said, why did you bring me here just to leave me alone? It was
awful.
It
You
was
do feel that way.
Absolutely. And during COVID, my husband and I had found this lovely little monastery it's in Bunnell. And
It's on, right off of almost Old Dixie.
Old Dixie Highway. And we were going to church there during COVID because they were one of the only churches around that were still open.
Right.
And you could go. They did outdoor mass. I'm
Oh, really?
Catholic. They
I
did
didn't know
outdoor
that.
mass, and you could get communion, and it was lovely. So when my husband passed away, I spoke to the priest there, and he didn't have any answers. You know, everything that God does is a mystery to us. It's all in God's hands. And my question to him was, why did he bring me here?
Right.
To leave me alone.
Right.
And I can tell you that is the furthest thing from the truth. I have such an extended group of family and friends here. None of them are related to me. But I know for a lot of widows, their husbands die, and I think they kind of climb inward. They don't know what to do. And I know when my husband first died,
Right.
I remember telling people, it's been John and Mel
Forever.
for so long.
Yeah.
I don't know if I know how to be Mel anymore.
You don't even know who you are.
I didn't, but you know what? I got invited to do some volunteer work at the monastery, and that started it all. And I learned over an extended period of time, when people offered you, okay, I was very independent as well.
Yes.
So people wanted to help me. I'd say, no, I can do it. Yeah, I can do it.
You don't want to take the help though, right?
But you don't know
Yeah.
how much you need it. And as I started to allow people to help me, it helped me a lot, not just with the physical labor or whatever,
Right.
because I'm sure you remember, you're much closer. My husband's been gone now almost 5 years.
5 years. I was going to ask.
When he first died and you are in your most vulnerable spot,
You are.
you are suddenly alone and you don't know what to do. And you're trying to deal with insurance companies and banks and
Companies all over the place that they don't even care that you'd spent 34 years or 50 years because your name is not your husband's name.
Right.
And I mean, I found that to be so frustrating.
And these people, in a time, it seems like you would think they would want to help you, throw roadblock after roadblock
they do.
in front of you. So that was very frustrating. And so I had to fight through that. Probate was horrendous.
Oh, you had to go
It
to
took over
probate.
3 years of probate. Well, the business was the thing that was in probate. Thank God when we sold our house in Georgia, he paid off the house here in Florida.
Oh,
A
wonderful.
lot of the
That was
really heavy lifting was gone.
That was a relief.
Yeah, but you know, it's like,
But there's
you know-
all these different things you don't know about. I'm sure you do nothing about, all that, the Social Security, the pensions, the this, the that, if you had it, the IRAs, you don't pay attention to that stuff because you never think, honestly, it's going to happen to you.
well,
I
my
think.
husband, being a smart man, he was a smart man. He really was. I was away visiting a friend in Marco Island when he was sent into the hospital.
Oh my God.
I knew he was sick prior to that, and I couldn't come back because that's when you had to quarantine.
Quarantine.
And I'm like 5 hours away thinking I've got to get home.
Oh
and
my God, that must have torn you up.
yeah, we had indoor security cameras, and I was watching my husband. He couldn't breathe, and
Oh my God.
it was awful.
Oh my
And
gosh.
when I got home after he went in the hospital, I could see just from the condition of the home, the struggle he was in. Now, fortunate for me, and it was fortunate, it really was, they had just started to let families, one person a day.
I was going to ask you, were you kept out?
I could go, and they had only been doing it for like a week.
Yeah.
So it seems strange to call it a blessing, but it was a blessing
it's a
because he
blessing.
wasn't alone.
Alone.
And
Yes.
I went in, the gloves, the double mask,
Yeah.
the shields, the whole
Suiting
thing.
up.
My saddest moment, honestly, was my husband. As I said, he was the person other people went to
Uh-huh.
when they were strong. If you were panicking or you were anxious,
He was the one that would calm you down.
you went to see John.
I had
And
the
the
same
last day that before they put him on the ventilator, they had him on a BiPAP machine, and they'd had him off, and he thought he was getting better. And his rates were going down. It was awful.
Yeah.
And so they told him he was going to have to go back on. And it's the first time and the
saw
only
him.
time he had the worst panic attack. And I watched this for about an hour.
It's horrible.
And I said to the nurse, I said, I need to leave. I can't. I was getting over anxious. And I said, I'll be back tomorrow. They had to put him on the ventilator that night. I never got to
And
talk
that
to him
was it.
again. And I really didn't even get to say goodbye to him because he was not in a good state.
And I think that's the part, especially when it first happens to me, because I saw my husband in a state that I had never seen him in before either. And I said, get him something, whatever you would give him in hospice, give it to him. But once they gave him that morphine, that was it. He almost went into like a coma. And he never spoke to me again. He called me in and told me, this is come close, because I couldn't get his breath out. But when I walked in the room, he was panting like a dog. That's the only way I can describe it. And my husband was a big man, and he was always the guy you went to. We used to call him Safety Steve. My girls and I in our house, we joked. He, Safety Steve, go to him. He's always calm. Well, he wasn't calm.
Yeah.
So whether he knew that this was it and he was going, called me over to him, put my ear down, and he said, I want to go home and be with God. And, that just was like, the heart just broke. That just, his spear through the heart. And I just, are you sure, and can't do this anymore. Hospice twice. And I don't know, he didn't say I love you or anything. I mean, I imagine he was just in a state of, I can't take this kind of thing. And I'd never seen him like that before.
The night my husband died, my daughter had come out from California.
Oh, gosh.
And she fortunately was able to see him. I had to fight with the hospital because only one person could be in there a day. And I had already been in. And I said, she flew all the way out here in the red eye. Let her see
How
her
ridiculous,
father. And
seriously.
I got her in or whatever.
Yeah.
But the day that my husband died, that morning I called because he was on a ventilator, and I was checking on him. And I don't even want to discuss the things they were doing at that point. But the nurse, I spoke with the nurse on the phone. He had a male nurse, and he said, he's doing fine. Why don't you take the day off and just enjoy the day? He's doing really well. Don't worry about him. And I said, well, how long do you think he's going to be on the ventilator? And he says, you never can tell. It could be a couple of days. It could be a few months. You never know. He said 4 months, I think he said. And I was joking with my daughter. I said, can you imagine Daddy's going to wake up on Valentine's Day and wonder what the heck happened?
Oh.
And we were able to go out. We went out to lunch. We had a really nice day. It was just wonderful.
Yeah.
Then 11:30 that night, I get a phone call. And they say, how soon can you be at the hospital?
Oh, my God.
And I'm like, why? And they said that his heart had already stopped once and that they had brought him back. And I said, give me like 20 minutes, I'll be there. And they said, well, what do you want us to do if his heart stops again? I said, you let him go to God. He was still alive when we got there. Not very, but we were able to talk to him. We held his hands. I prayed with him.
They can hear you.
Well, you know what? Right before he died, a single tear
Oh, no.
fell off of his eye. So
Oh, my
I
God.
know he
You
knew
know
we
he
were
heard
there.
you.
So, yeah, that was comforting.
How old was he when he passed?
67.
He was young.
Yeah,
He's a
67.
young man.
Yeah.
And how old were you?
62.
So you were young. So the average age is 59 for women. I didn't know.
I didn't
I
know
was
that
shocked
either.
when I
That's
heard.
young.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I was shocked when I heard that, but you were very, very close to that. I mean, he was a young man. I saw pictures of him. He's a strong guy. I mean, obviously, like you said, he was the one that everybody went to. I mean, I guess you have to believe that, God is the Alpha and the Omega, and that he knows the beginning from the end, or however that goes, the end from the beginning. But you don't feel like that.
No,
You
it
don't
was
feel
hard.
like that. You
You
feel
know-
like, how is this even possible?
That the day that he died at 1:05 in the morning on October 19th. Our youngest daughter had a job interview that day at 1:00 in the afternoon.
Oh my God.
So I told my daughter that was with me from California, nobody can tell her. Nobody can tell her till after she has the interview. And I am certain my husband was with her.
Oh, sure.
She went for the interview and she got the job. And then after I knew she had the job, I told her.
How did your children react? I'm curious because everybody's like, you're different, I'm different, but our children are different too.
I will tell you, my kids were all extremely angry with their father because my husband did not believe in the COVID
Oh, he didn't?
shots.
No.
Oh my God, no. And he
Yeah.
was like, no, we're not going to get him. We're not going to get him. And I remember when people were getting really sick, and I kept saying, John, are you sure? I said, you're going to get us both killed. And he said, no, I'm sure. And then when he came down with COVID, I was away,
Yes.
like I said, in Marco
And
Island.
then you're not supposed
and
to come
he told
back.
me, he said, you go get that shot right now. So I had my first shot in Marco. And then my kids all came for the funeral. And they wanted me to have the second shot. And I don't know if you remember, but people were getting sick from the second shot.
I remember.
So I told my kids I will not get that shot until after the funeral.
Yeah,
I'm not going to
yeah.
be sick for Daddy's
Yeah.
funeral. And I did get the second one, but no boosters. or
I got the
anything.
first and the second because my husband had leukemia back when he was about 50, and I couldn't take a chance.
Right.
Obviously, his immune system was compromised, so I didn't want to do it, but I did it because he had to do it. So we got the first, and then we came back and got the second, and then I think there was the booster.
Well, there's like 12
But
boosters.
that was it for me. After the first one, I remember telling my girlfriend, I felt different. I mean, I felt, first of all, like my blood pressure was like flying through the roof. They make you sit there for like 15 minutes. I don't know if they want to see if you're just going to die or what, but
React to it.
you're sitting in your car in the fairgrounds. That's where we got it, looking at each other like, is this it? And then they let you go after 15 minutes. But all that week, I felt like weird, almost like my blood was like 4 times thicker than it should have been or whatever. But I just said, this doesn't seem right. But hey, look, you're going to do whatever you have to do to try to make sure that you or your loved one is not going to get sick.
Absolutely.
And you really went through the worst of times. Thank God they let you in, because I just find that to be such a horrible thing. All those people that basically had to die alone.
And when they first let me in, the first day I was there, they said, you can only stay for 2 hours. It's not healthy for you. And after the 2 hours was up, I'm getting ready to go. And my husband's like, where are you going? And I'm like, they said I can only stay 2 hours. He's like, you don't have to leave. I'm like, no, I really have to leave.
They
But
don't want you to leave. They don't.
well, the next day I came, and probably every day after that, I was there 8 or 9 hours a
Yeah,
day. I didn't
right.
leave. He needed me to be there.
He needed you, and you were there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that has to give you some comfort and peace.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
would think that you can, you try to do everything you can, because I think it's just part of our DNA to figure out, try to figure everything out, which that's what I always try to do. That's my brain. And you can't figure out why. You can't figure out what exactly happened. I wanted a doctor to come in and talk to me. They would not come in the room. I was like, where is the compassion here? But at any rate, you just end up doing the best you can. And I ended up following as many directions as I could that he gave me. You ended up, doing calming him down and just being with him and trying to get him to know that talking to him, talking to him. And you just don't forget those last days.
Right.
And that makes it hard for you to come out, I think, of the deep hole that you're in, because you're never going to get that out of your brain, right?
I think the hardest thing for women that lose their husband, and I was young, like you say, I was young, and I still feel like I have another 30 years of me. And the thought of being alone, I can do it. I can absolutely do it. Having a male companion would be nice or whatever. But I started to heal not super quick, but I jumped into volunteering, I spent as much time out of my house as I could, because at nighttime when I was alone,
Horrible.
that's when I couldn't deal with it. And then as I started to feel better, and things are not so bad, the devil gets in your head. You get that little on your shoulder,
in
and
your
it's
ear.
You're getting over your husband because you never really loved him in the
Oh
first
my God.
place. And so now I'm fighting my own head
Oh boy.
on top of everything else. Ladies, that's not true.
Well,
Men,
there is
whoever,
a
it's not
stigma.
true.
There is a stigma. I read as much as I can, and there's a book I've been reading, Widow to Widow, and it talks about, well, when is the appropriate time? Well, you know what? Is there an appropriate time? Not really. Everybody is different, but women always get judged harsher.
I think
Like
so.
the truth is, and I've said this on the first podcast, men will remarry usually within 2 years. Women, it's exactly the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
Like they either say, I'm never going to do this again, or they just don't. But for me, what got to me was I felt like I had been given a punishment, almost like I was in solitary confinement.
But what do you
I
think you're
felt
being
that way.
punished for?
No, I don't know. We all have guilt. I am Italian. I am Italian and I'm part Jewish, so I got a lot of guilt. But you feel like, oh, what if I had taken him here? What if I had done this? What if I could have done that? What if I couldn't save him. So, you do think like, okay, I get it. He's gone on to be with God. That's what he said. I want to go home to be with God. And I thought, this is my husband. I've never heard him talk like this. And of course I said, whatever you want. In my mind, I'm thinking, aren't you going to fight? Because he was a fighter. Aren't you going to fight? Aren't you going to keep fighting? But I didn't say any of it, of course. The last thing you want to do is say something that would tear them apart.
Right.
So, you're just trying to be like, we'll be okay. But I just felt like, it's bad enough that you lose your husband, the person that you have known for 50 years or 30 years or whatever it may be. It's bad enough. You don't even know who you are. And then all of a sudden you're like, it's like being cast into the sea of darkness. Like it's so quiet, especially if you had a loud husband, which I did. I mean,
me too.
He was always the talk of the town, the loud one, the funny one, he was hysterical. I mean, he always kept things very, very lively. And, all of a sudden it's just emptiness.
I've spoken with you about this before. You are right in the middle of the worst time. As far as my experience, the first year, your first Thanksgiving, your first Christmas, birthday,
all the first
anniversary,
holidays.
all the first things hit you like a ton of bricks. Then the second year, I keep hearing people saying the second year is worse. That was not my experience.
I do too.
That was not my experience. Once I had the loneliness and, my memories of that last birthday together, whatever,
Right.
you start to look forward. Because you know what? I know
Well, if
everybody. You can't keep looking back.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to change anything.
No, it doesn't.
And I assure you, your husband, I know my husband would want me to continue living.
Sure.
So.
Now you're still in your same house because you guys moved. You bought it. You moved there together.
This was going to be our retirement house, and this will be my forever. I remember my husband was funny because I love the beach, and
yes,
he bought me a house.
That's so
sweet. He bought me a house right near the beach.
Yeah,
it was
and
our
it is.
house.
It's beautiful.
Well, I would go down the beach, and I'd say, "John, come on down the beach, whatever," and he'd come down, and he'd might get wet. You might be there 10 minutes. He'd be like, I'm going home now. I'm like, you just got here.
Yes, dude.
Why don't you come to the beach?
I
He
love
says,
the beach. I could stay there all day.
Well, I said to him,
Yeah.
why did you buy a house at the beach if you don't like the beach?
For
He
you.
said, I bought it for
For you. That's very
And
sweet.
sadly, we used to joke. I used to tell him I was going to go first and he was going to be stuck at the beach. and he ended up going first.
Yeah.
So,
But so you have your same house. You didn't have to do the move thing. That's great. At least you were in your home. You have beautiful neighbors.
absolutely. I have a great support group between
Yeah.
my church and my neighbors and
that's-
friends. That's
Something I don't really feel like I have, but
Absolutely.
that's lovely that you have
That
that.
is my advice to anybody. Get out of your house.
Mm-hmm.
Accept invitations to anything, whether you want to go or not, because your first inclination is going to be to say, no, I don't want to go.
That is your first. You don't want to
Go.
Yeah.
You never know who you'll meet or what fun you'll have or whatever.
You're right. And that was what I was going to ask you. If you had any words to give to the widows out there, what would you say?
Absolutely.
Volunteer.
Mm-hmm.
Go get involved in something else so that you're outside of your head, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then if you do get asked to do something, anything, take it. Even though I will say I've done things and there are times when you're like, okay, got to go now. I can only keep this up for about an hour and a half and then I'm going to start.
Well, I think I started.
Cry.
I started was church. I'm a Catholic person. I'm
Yeah.
a practicing Catholic. I go to mass every day.
Mm-hmm.
And that start to my day, I mean,
the right
it
vein.
puts me in the right vein. And
Mm-hmm.
if I could help anyone, that's always been my prayer every day. I want somebody to look at me and say, what does she have that I don't have?
Right.
And if they're a widow, ask me. I'll talk to you.
Yes.
Absolutely.
But they don't talk.
Well, sometimes
And
you got to pull it out
no
of them.
offense to the men, but sometimes I think they're worse. They don't. We did have one on, but he did talk, and I was grateful for that. But anyway, so do you feel like your story reminds me of that movie. I don't know if you ever saw it, Under the Tuscan Sun with Diane Lane. I love that movie. She wants to get married. She wants to do this. She wants to do that, and it doesn't work out. But then she goes to this Tuscany, and she buys this place, and she ends up with the family that she always wanted, only they're not her actual family. But it's just as beautiful. So God bless you, and
He does every day.
every
believe me.
day, and I'm so grateful that you came on
Thank
to be
you for
with us.
having
And
me.
I know if you're listening, you got a lot out of this. So thank you very much, Melody. So we're gonna close off for now. And we want to thank you again for coming and actually for giving us some very, very, very good pieces of advice. And a lot of people don't do that. I guess they don't know what to say, but it really was very insightful. So for now, this is Dr. Phyllis Edwards going to sign off for The Widow Speaks. You'll see us again. Please try to find us. You can find us at YouTube and Spotify and Facebook and all the major outlets. And I want to tell you that you're not alone, that God is with the brokenhearted. And yes, there is beauty for ashes. God bless you.
Things are truly better with us.